The rain hammered Seattle like it had a personal grudge, turning the streets into rivers of regret that mirrored the storm raging inside me. I flung open the door to my cramped apartment, soaked to the bone from the dash inside, only to freeze as thunder cracked overhead, because there she stood, under the flickering porch light, holding my forgotten Amazon box like it was the key to some forbidden world. Her eyes, sharp and blue as the Puget Sound on a clear day, locked onto mine, and in that split second, I swear the world tilted, pulling me toward her like gravity had just rewritten its rules for fools like me who thought love was a chapter long closed. Alyssa Harper had built walls around her heart taller than the Space Needle, brick by painful brick. After her last relationship shattered her into shards she was still too scared to glue back together. At 32, she was a graphic designer scraping by on freelance gigs, her days blurring into nights hunched over a laptop in a one-bedroom overlooking the perpetually gray Elliott Bay. The city that never slept had lulled her into a numb routine, coffee black as her mood, takeout for one, and reruns of old rom-coms she watched without laughing anymore. She'd buried the vibrant, risk-taking girl who'd once backpacked through the Rockies on a whim, the one who'd kissed a stranger under fireworks at Pride and felt alive. That Alyssa was gone, lost to the wreckage of Elena's betrayal. 2 years of whispered promises ending in a curt email from across the country. I can't do this anymore. Since then, connection was a 4-letter word she avoided like the plague. But Riley Kane? She crashed through those walls without even trying. 26, with a mop of dark hair that defied gravity and a uniform that hugged her like it knew her secrets, Riley was the kind of woman who made the rain seem like a sexy backdrop to her grin. Delivery driver for a quirky local service called Puget Parcels, she zipped through the city on her beat-up scooter, dropping off everything from artisanal cheeses to forgotten birthday gifts. Life hadn't been kind to her either. Foster kid turned tattoo artist on weekends, with ink snaking up her arms telling stories of survival she wore like badges. But Riley believed in serendipity, in the magic of a wrong address leading to the right door. And on that stormy Tuesday in October, my door was it. Package for A. Harper? Her voice cut through the downpour like a lifeline, warm and teasing, as if she'd been expecting me to answer personally. Water dripped from the brim of her cap, but she didn't flinch, just held out the box with fingers that looked strong enough to hold the world steady. I blinked, suddenly aware of my drenched hoodie clinging like a second skin, my hair a frizzy halo of defeat. That's me. Alyssa. Thanks God. It's a mess out there. She laughed, a sound like wind chimes in the gale, and leaned in just a fraction, close enough that I caught the faint scent of rain and vanilla. Messes are my specialty. Sign here, gorgeous. The word slipped out casual as breathing, but it hit me like lightning, warming spots I'd forgotten could thaw. I scribbled my name, our fingers brushing in that accidental way that feels anything but. Electricity zipped up my arm, and for the first time in months, my pulse wasn't just a metronome to monotony. You always deliver in monsoons like this? Only for the ones worth getting soaked for. She winked, backing toward the stairs with a salute. Stay dry, Alyssa Harper. Or don't. What looks good on you? The door clicked shut, but her echo lingered, bouncing off the empty walls of my life. I tore into the box, a dumb impulse by of sketch pads I'd ordered in a rare fit of nostalgia, but my mind was sketching her instead. The curve of her jaw, the way her eyes crinkled with mischief. That night, sleep evaded me, chased away by what-ifs that tasted like possibility. By morning, the rain had cleared, leaving a sky so blue it mocked my hesitation. I texted a friend, Jamie, over brunch mimosas. Met a delivery girl last night. Felt something. Her reply was instant. Girl, that's not a package. That's fate knocking. Answer it. Fate, huh? I almost laughed it off, but 2 days later, it knocked again. Another delivery, this one a stack of takeout flyers I'd signed up for in a tipsy haze. And there she was, Riley, grinning like she'd planned the whole thing. Round 2, Harper. You ordering Thai this time, or just testing my cardio? We talked, really talked for the first time on my stoop, the autumn sun filtering through maple leaves turning the air golden. She perched on the steps, legs stretched out in faded jeans, while I leaned against the railing, coffee mug warming my palms. Riley spun tales of botched deliveries, the time she accidentally dropped a wedding cake down an elevator shaft, or how she'd once raced a flock of seagulls for a customer's lunch. Her laugh was infectious, pulling mine out like a reluctant weed from cracked soil. "You're not like the usual 9-to-5ers, she said, tilting her head. "What's your story, Alyssa? You look like you've got volumes unspoken." I hesitated, the weight of Elena's ghost pressing on my chest. But Riley's gaze was steady, no judgment, just curiosity wrapped in kindness. So I cracked open a sliver. The freelance grind, the city that swallowed dreams whole. Omitted the heartbreak, the nights I'd cried myself raw wondering if I'd ever feel desired again. She nodded, tracing a leaf's vein with her thumb. "Seattle does that, grinds you down if you let it. But you? I see fire under that quiet, like you're waiting for a spark." Her words hung there, heavy with subtext, and when our eyes met, the air thickened. I wanted to lean in, to taste that spark on her lips, but fear clamped down hard. Instead, I mumbled about work, and she stood, brushing off her jeans. "Well, if you ever need a delivery of courage, I'm your girl. Numbers on the receipt." That night, staring at the slip of paper by my bed, I dialed before doubt could win. "Riley? It's Alyssa. Fancy grabbing coffee? Not the delivery kind." Her voice lit up like dawn. "Thought you'd never ask. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., that hole in the wall on Pike." The cafe was a cozy nook squeezed between a bookstore and a vinyl shop, all exposed brick and the rich aroma of roasted beans. I arrived early, nerves jangling like loose change, fiddling with the hem of my sweater. What was I doing? Dating felt like a foreign language, one I'd forgotten the grammar for. But then Riley breezed in, wind-tousled and radiant in a leather jacket over a band tee, and all syntax evaporated. We ordered lattes, hers with extra foam, mine straight black, and settled into a corner booth that felt like our own private universe. Conversation flowed like the latte art swirling in our cups, her love for indie gigs at the Tractor Tavern, my secret obsession with urban sketching. She showed me a tattoo on her wrist, a tiny compass rose, inked after her last foster home kicked her out at 18. "Points north when I forget where home is," she said softly. "And where's that for you now?" I asked, tracing the lines with my fingertip, bold in a way that surprised us both. Riley's breath hitched, her hand covering mine. "Right here, maybe. With someone who sees me, not just the uniform." The touch lingered, warm and tentative, until the barista's cough broke the spell. But outside, walking the leaf-strewn sidewalk, she slipped her hand into mine. It fit perfectly, like puzzle pieces lost for years. We wandered to the market, sampling street crepes under strings of Edison bulbs, her shoulder brushing mine with every step. Laughter came easy, unguarded, and when she stole a bite of my strawberry filling, her lips grazing my fingers, heat bloomed low in my belly. A reminder that desire hadn't died, just hibernated. By dusk, we ended up at Discovery Park, the salt air whipping our hair as we climbed to the lighthouse overlook. The sound stretched endless before us, ferries cutting white wakes like promises. Riley turned to me, eyes reflecting the dying light. "This feels real, Alyssa. Scary real." I swallowed, Elena's shadow flickering at the edges.
"Yeah.
For me too." She stepped closer, her palm cupping my cheek, thumb brushing my lower lip. Time suspended, then her mouth met mine, soft at first, exploratory, then deepening with a hunger that matched my own. Salt and sweetness, her body pressing flush against me, hands tangling in my hair. The kiss was a revelation, unraveling the knots I'd tied around my heart. When we broke apart, breathless, she whispered, "I've wanted that since the rain." Me too, I thought, but words failed. Instead, I pulled her back, letting actions speak the truth I'd been too afraid to voice. That kiss ignited something feral and tender in us both. Dates blurred into a whirlwind. Midnight picnics in Green Lake Park with stolen wine, her teaching me to ollie on her skateboard down empty alleys, me dragging her to a quiet gallery where my sketches hung anonymously. Riley was a force, pulling me from my shell with gentle insistence. Texts at dawn with sunrises she snapped from her route, playlists curated to my moods that played like love letters. In her arms, I felt seen, not as the broken woman Elena left, but as whole, worthy. Yet, cracks formed subtly like hairlines in glass. One night, over pizza in my apartment, she traced the faded scar on my collarbone, a hiking mishap from years ago, and asked about Elena without naming her. "You loved hard once, huh?" Still carries weight. I stiffened, setting down my slice. The room felt smaller, the city hum outside a distant roar. "It does." She said I was too much. Too emotional, too needy. Left me doubting everything. Riley's eyes darkened, not with pity, but fire. "Fuck that. You're not too much, you're exactly enough." She was blind. Her words soothed, but doubt lingered like fog. What if history repeated? Riley deserved unscarred, not my baggage. Still, I pushed forward, inviting her to meet Jamie at a queer open mic night downtown. The club pulsed with bass and vulnerability, poets spilling hearts, singers crooning anthems of defiance. Riley held my hand under the table, her thumbs stroking circles that grounded me. When a comedian cracked a joke about delivery apps being the new grinder, we dissolved into giggles, her head on my shoulder. But midway through, my phone buzzed, an email from Elena. "Thinking of you. In town next week. Coffee." My stomach plummeted. Delete, I told myself, but the what-if wormed in, old habits, the pull of the familiar pain. Riley noticed my pallor. "Hey, you okay?" "Yeah, just." Ghost from the past. I forced a smile, but she wasn't buying it. "Talk to me, Liz. We're in this." Later, walking home arm in arm, I confessed the email. Her jaw tightened, but she squeezed my hand. "You don't owe her shit. But if it helps close the door, go. I'll be here, cheering your badass self on." Her trust cracked me open wider, and that night, tangled in sheets scented with her, we made love for the first time. Slow, reverent, her lips mapping my skin like sacred ground, my fingers learning the rhythm of her gasps. It was healing, holy, erasing echoes with every touch. Afterward, curled against her, I whispered, "You're bringing me back." She kissed my temple. "Good, because I'm not going anywhere." But ghosts don't vanish so easily. Elena's coffee meetup loomed like a storm cloud. I agreed, telling myself it was closure. But deep down, fear gnawed. What if Riley saw the mess and bolted? The cafe on Capitol Hill buzzed with hipsters and hauntings. Elena arrived polished as ever, blonde bob, designer coat, sliding into the booth with a smile that once disarmed me. "You look good. Ali, Seattle suits you." Small talk flowed, then veered to us. "I was scared," she admitted, eyes downcast. "You wanted forever. I wanted freedom." Pain lanced fresh but muted. "You broke me, Elena. But I'm mending." She reached for my hand. I pulled back. "With someone new?" "Riley. She's everything you weren't." Jealousy flickered in Elena's gaze. "Be careful. Passion fades." I left with head high, texting Riley. "Done. Yours truly." Her reply, a heart emoji and "proud of you." "Dinner at mine?" Riley's studio apartment in Fremont was chaos incarnate. Canvases stacked like dominoes, a half-built guitar in the corner, posters of Riot Girl bands peeling at the edges. She cooked, burnt edges and all, pasta with sauce from a jar, but served with candlelight and stories of her wild youth. We ate cross-legged on the floor, her foot hooked around my ankle. "Tell me about her," Riley said later, as we swayed to a scratchy Joan Baez record. "The ex. All of it." So I did, spilling the ugly, the gaslighting, the isolation, how Elena made me question my worth until I shrank small. Riley listened, fury simmering in her silence, then pulled me close. She doesn't get to define you. I see the woman who sketches sunsets that make my heart ache, who laughs at my dumb jokes, who kisses like she's starving for joy. That's you, Alyssa. Unbroken. Tears came then, hot and cathartic, and Riley held me through them, her strength a balm. In the quiet after, we explored each other again, urgent and affirming, her mouth on my neck, my nails raking her back, bodies sinking in a dance of reclamation. It was more than sex, it was resurrection. Weeks melted into a rhythm uniquely ours, mornings tangled in my bed before her routes, evenings sketching her profile by lamplight while she inked new designs. Seattle softened around us, the market's flowers brighter, the ferry rides more magical with her hand in mine. I even dusted off old dreams, pitching a children's book series to an agent, illustrations bursting with color I hadn't touched in years. But Riley had shadows too. One crisp November afternoon, post-run along the Burke-Gilman Trail, she grew quiet, staring at the canal's glassy surface. "Got something to tell you," she murmured, kicking a pebble. My heart stuttered. "Anything." She exhaled, rolling up her sleeve to reveal fresh ink, a delicate chain of forget-me-nots encircling her wrist. "My mom's coming to town. First time in years. She's complicated. Homophobic as hell, but blood's blood." I traced the flowers, understanding dawning. "The foster stuff?" "Yeah." Bounced around after she kicked me out at 16 for kissing a girl at prom. Now she's reformed. Wants to play family. I'm scared it'll drag me back. We sat on a bench, her head on my shoulder, and I shared my own family fractures. Distant parents in Spokane who'd never grasped my queerness. Holidays endured in silence. "We'll face it together," I promised. "You're not alone anymore." Her mom's visit was a minefield. They met at a neutral diner in Ballard, Riley introducing me as my partner. Voice steady, but eyes pleading. Karen Kane was a wiry woman with Riley's blue eyes but none of her warmth, her smiles tight as rubber bands. Conversations skimmed surfaces, weather, work, until she cornered me in the restroom. You know she was always troubled. This phase of hers, it's not natural. Rage boiled, but I kept cool. Love isn't a phase, Karen. It's Riley's truth. And mine. Back at the table, tension crackled. Riley's mom pressed, "You're throwing away a normal life for this." Riley slammed her napkin down. "Normal? You mean alone and miserable like you? I'm happy, Mom. With Alyssa. Deal with it or leave." The silence stretched, then Karen stood, tears streaking. "I just want what's best." She left without goodbye, door banging like a verdict. Riley crumbled after, sobs racking her frame on my couch. I held her, rocking gently. "You were brave. That's love. Choosing us over fear." She looked up, eyes raw. "What if she never comes around? Then we build our own family. Starting with us." Healing began there, in vulnerability shared. Riley's mom sent an apology text days later, halting but real, and we took it as a seed, not a bloom. Meanwhile, my book pitch landed. A contract for Whispers of the Wild, tales of girls finding their way, illustrated with Alyssa's touch. Riley celebrated with a tattoo of a shooting star on her ankle, for the girl who lit me up. Winter crept in, holidays looming like tests. We opted for a road trip instead, crisscrossing the Olympics in a rented RV, chasing hot springs and starlit skies. One night, snow-dusted evergreens around our campfire, Riley pulled a small box from her pack. Not a ring, too soon, but a pendant, 2 interlocking waves, silver and simple, for the tides that brought us together, and the ones that'll keep us. I fastened it around my neck, tears freezing on my lashes. "I love you, Riley Kane. Love you more, Alyssa Harper." Our kiss tasted of pine and promise, bodies warming under blankets as the world slept. But fate, that tricky bastard, had one more twist. Back in Seattle, a call shattered the idyll. My agent, voice tight. Your ex, Elena, she's claiming credit for your style, threatening to sue over inspired elements in your book. Panic surged. Elena, ever the opportunist, had seen my announcement online, dredging up old sketches I'd shared in our relationship. Lawyers loomed, a nightmare uncoiling. Riley was fury incarnate. That bitch. We'll fight. The legal tangle dragged, depositions, emails laced with venom. Elena's camp painted me as derivative, a thief of her muse status. Sleepless nights blurred, my confidence eroding under the assault. What if they win? I whispered to Riley one dawn, curled in her lap. What if I'm not original at all? She cupped my face fierce. You're creatorless. Your heart bleeds color. She's jealous because you rose without her. Support poured in. Jamie rallied queer artists for affidavits. Riley's tattoo buddies sketched solidarity pieces. Even Karen called, awkward but firm. Fight for what's yours, Riley's girl. The climax hit in a sterile courtroom downtown, January's chill seeping through windows. Elena sat across, composed, but her eyes betrayed hunger, for control, for relevance. My lawyer presented evidence, dated files, witnesses to my solo evolution. When my turn came, I spoke from the gut. Elena gave me pain, not inspiration. This book? It's me, reborn from ashes she lit. The judge ruled swift, dismissed, with sanctions on her. Relief crashed like waves, but the real victory was internal. I wasn't the victim anymore. I was the survivor. Riley waited outside, scooping me into a bear hug. My warrior. That night, we danced in the kitchen to Nina Simone, wine spilling as we laughed through tears. To us, she toasted. Unbreakable. Spring bloomed defiant. My book launch at Elliott Bay Books a riot of color, friends toasting with rainbow cupcakes. Riley read an excerpt, her voice cracking on the line about lost girls finding home in each other's arms. Elena faded to footnote, a lesson learned. As summer hummed in, we talked futures, a shared studio, maybe a dog named Echo. On our anniversary, the day of that rainy delivery, I surprised her with a custom scooter wrap, sketched waves crashing into sunrises. We rode to Alki Beach, parking at sunset, toes in sand. You brought me back, I said, lacing fingers. The part one thought lost, the dreamer, the lover. Riley smiled, that grin that started it all. And you showed me home isn't a place. It's you. We kissed as the sun dipped, sealing a story not of endings, but beginnings. In each other, we'd found the package worth every risk. Hearts delivered, souls received, love that mended what time tore apart.